Hey everybody, it's Gregory Fried Rice, and we're here in Warwick, Rhode Island with Mr. Joe Shekarchi. Joe, how's it going?
My pleasure, Greg. Thanks for coming by today.
Thank you for having me. This is a big episode. This is my 50th episode, so
Wonderful.
thank you very much.
Thank you for having me as your special guest. I look forward to talking with you and your listeners as well. So thank you, and your viewers.
First question, I just saw your stamp over there. K. Joseph Shekarchi. What does the K stand for? Does it stand for cool, charismatic? What does it stand for?
That is a secret.
It is a secret?
Yes.
So is it like your first name and you picked up your middle name as your new name?
Yes, pretty much so. That's the way it's been for a long time.
But the K will remain a mystery.
You have to do. You and your viewers have to do your investigative work. And if you've got nothing else to do at 2 a.m,
find K.
You can research it and find it. It's not a secret. I just go by Joe.
Okay.
Always feel comfortable with that. Mm-hmm.
And are you from Rhode Island, born and bred?
Born and bred all my life. I went to school in Massachusetts, Suffolk University, undergrad, where I got a Bachelor of Science degree in government, and then I went to Suffolk University Law School. Also spent a little bit of time, maybe about a year, on the West Coast, and also a year in Washington, D.C., but ultimately always came back home to Rhode Island.
And what made you want to do land use?
So combination of a lot of reasons. Like yourself, I was a real estate agent and broker, and I would hire attorneys to do land use stuff for me. And I was kind of fascinated by that. And then I happened to meet a judge at the time. It was a retired Supreme Court justice. His name was Justice Tom Paolino. And we became friends of mine. He was a mentor of mine. He helped me through college, and he helped me through law school. I had it until my office had a fire, but he had wrote a book about land use. And he dedicated it, had a nice inscription inside of it. And he wrote to my good friend Joe in the pursuit of the law. And he explained to me, and he was known as a very big, a very prominent zoning attorney. So I kind of just drifted in that direction. I had done real estate. I was a broker at the time for Century 21, and I had always had a passion for real estate. And I tried a little bit of home construction. And as I got into the law, and I realized how much of real estate is regulated by the law.
Right.
Purchase and sales agreement, litigations, recordings, tax appeals, development, zoning, land use, closings, title exams, commercial, leases. They all involve a lawyer. So that's where I kind of drifted. I had a natural background. I felt kind of comfortable in that area, kind of drifted in that area. And then became, excited about it. If you can get excited about real estate, I did it. And I found zoning very interesting because it was, public. It's like a litigation. You go before a public board, you speak. Neighbors can speak, other lawyers can speak. The board makes a decision primarily most of the time right away, and you get like instant results. Did I win the case? Did I lose the case?
Right.
Is the client happy? Did I create value for the client?
Right. So how did that? You went to school. You went to law school just for general studies, or just to get?
Yeah, in law school, the first 2 years are pretty much all. There's no electives at all.
Gotcha.
And your last year, they have what they call conveyancing. And they have some land use classes. So it's a specialized area of the law. There's very few lawyers who do this kind of work in Rhode Island. But there are enough. I mean, there's plenty of competition, and there's plenty of people who kind of localize. Like you go to Newport or Quinnipiac Island, there are a few attorneys who do that there. You come up to Providence, there's a couple of attorneys who do a lot of work in Providence. You come to Warwick, and I'm one of many lawyers who do that. But I've kind of branched out over the last 10 years, and I've done work throughout the state.
And what's your favorite type of project to do?
It's zoning work. I mean, it's really I really like to do affordable housing.
Gotcha.
I think that's good. I just completed a project in Warwick where they're going to turn the Sheraton Hotel into 181 units of housing.
Yeah.
And they're going to try to maybe modify that to make them even more affordable. And I've done a lot of development law in and around the city, but around the state in general. And I think it's good. You're creating a place for people to live. It's affordable. I think it's good economic development. I think it's good that, as this next generation comes up, graduates from college, that they have an affordable place to stay here.
True.
There are a lot of people that I talk to, elderly people, you'd be surprised how it's so important for them. And I'm like, you seem retired, you seem, 60s and 70s. What do you care about affordable housing so much? Well, I want my grandson or my grandchildren to be able to stay here in Rhode Island. And with the way the market is right now, and the the geographic location between New York's market and Massachusetts market, Rhode Island has so much pressure to increase in the pricing that you are pricing our children out of buying their own home here in Rhode Island.
Rents are crazy. I mean, when I started renting apartments 8-10 years ago, it was $500-600 for a 2-bedroom in Woonsocket and Lincoln. Now, as you know, $1,200, $1,500. It's like
it goes up.
Bananas. The landlords are insatiable. They always will continue to want more, and it's just making it harder to live and more evictions, etc.
Exactly.
So that's good that you're interested in that. How about some of the most difficult projects that you've taken under?
Most difficult and challenging project was the Lowe's home improvement on Route 2 in Warwick. That required 12 or 13 separate approvals from separate boards.
Gotcha.
Planning boards, zoning boards, Department of Transportation, and I just can't remember. I think maybe the Army Corps of Engineers or Wetlands. We had to go through that process. It was the very beginning of my practice. It was a long time ago, but that took a long time. We had to go back several times. There were changes of administration at the time between Mayor Chafee, then it was Mayor Gibbons, then it was Mayor Avedisian. And each time a mayor changes, the planning board changes, the zoning board changes, and even the city council changed. So there was a lot of opposition. There were lawyers. There were 3 neighbors who hired an attorney to fight the project. We had to go to court. There were all kinds of issues. But at the end of the day, we prevailed. It's a beautiful facility there, and it's creating jobs, paying tax revenue. And but people don't realize that there was also like a 20-acre component of land in the back of that was also zoned open space as a buffer zone. So it wasn't like we utilized every inch of the property for commercial use. And the commercial use was a good use because at the time, Home Depot was pretty much had a monopoly in Rhode Island. The one on Route 2 in Warwick was killing it. They were making, there were lines out the door during Memorial Day weekend and all through the summer. So we created some competition for the pricing. We provided some ability to create jobs and revenue. And the nice part about that is when you do a good commercial project that serves the community like that, they don't put any kids in the school system. They never need minimal police and fire at all on municipal services, and they pay taxes. So it's a great opportunity to help expand the Warwick tax base. So they pay good taxes, so we can use that to support our school systems.
100%. So when a bigger company like that comes in, do they have their own attorneys as well in addition to you as a local person?
Well,
is it like a joint effort?
So it's a good question, a good point. So most of the time, the national companies that come in, they have corporate attorneys, but they do this throughout the country, and they pretty much want local lawyers. They don't know the local permitting process. They don't know the departments that you have to go. They don't know where to go or what to do, and they usually rely on local counsel. I've done work for a lot of national chains. I've done some work for Cumberland Farms. I've done some work for CVS, and they defer to local counsel.
Is it safe to say the bigger the land area, the more potential problems somebody will have, or does that not even matter?
No, it's not that. Honestly, it depends on the location.
Okay.
It's how close are you to a residential facility? How close are you to water or open space or
school?
a little league, a school, or daycare center? Those all factor into the equation. It's really about the abutting neighborhood and the abutting neighbors to the property that sometimes raises the level of opposition, or sometimes you can work with. So every project is unique, and every project has its own set of challenges. Some are obviously more challenging than others. But I have found, I've done a lot of work for some local banks. I have found the banks, which I think are great corporate citizens to have in a community. They pay a lot of taxes. They're very involved in the community. They run clothing drives, peanut butter drives. They do all these kind of things, sell Girl Scout cookies. Are great corporate citizens, but they have surprisingly a lot of opposition because people think they drive a lot of traffic, but that's not true today. That may have been true years ago. It's not true because a lot of people do mobile banking or banking at home or ATM banking everywhere. So the drive up traffic and the foot traffic is not where it seems. I just did another bank down in South Kingstown, and a big part of that in South Kingstown was they wanted the bank to have a bicycle rack outside because it was near URI, and they want people to be able to ride their bikes from URI. It's good for the environment and it's good for the economy, and be able to park your bike, lock up your bike, and then go in and do your banking and leave, etc. And the other thing about banking is every ATM is pretty much on a 24-hour cycle. So if you can't get to the bank between the 9 and 4, the old traditional way, you can go on a Saturday and a Sunday, whatever. So the days of a busy bank are pretty much over in Rhode Island.
Interesting. And you said value is one of the best parts of your job. What's one of your least favorite things that you wish you could change or never have to deal with, for example?
Well, I would say that I don't like to lose, and I feel I don't like to lose. It's a competitive nature of me.
Answer.
It's a competitive nature. I don't like to lose. So consequently, when I don't like to lose, I feel the clients have hired me, they paid me, and I've lost, and
Gotcha.
and they didn't get anything. They got a good, honest effort, and I can't guarantee a result, but they didn't get the desired results.
Wow. And does that happen frequently, infrequently? I mean, what's your win percentage?
I have a. It's funny you say that, but thank you. I have a pretty good batting average, but that's a little bit misleading because honestly, I screen a lot of my cases.
Gotcha.
And at the very beginning of my practice, when you were young, you take a lot of cases because you want to get a reputation, you want business. Now I'm pretty fortunate that I've developed a pretty good business and pretty good reputation in land use. So I want to be sure that when I take a case, hopefully 9 out of 10, I win. But it doesn't, I can't get, there's a lot of cases I don't think I can win. I don't want those cases because I really don't want to take the client's money and not deliver a result for them.
And what would be the number one reason that a case would lose? Is it really like public opposition, or if like the media gets involved, does that make it harder?
It's not the media at all because this is all public, and a lot of these are online now, and a lot of these are on Zoom. The media is not necessarily not really because they cover it, and usually the result is what sometimes comes into play is neighborhood opposition.
Gotcha.
You know, if the neighborhood doesn't want it, it's hard. I try to take a project. I'm almost exclusively. I think about maybe 4 or 5 times in my entire 30 years of practicing law that I've taken a case that the city didn't support. Wow. So I try to do a little bit of homework. So if I can get the planning director on board or the planning department on board or the administration on board, that goes a long way. Now, sometimes things happen and they change, which has happened to me on occasion.
Yeah.
They may, due to some unforeseen circumstances or a level of opposition, be opposed to a project. And then I'm stuck because I've committed, I took the money for the client, I'm still going to fight really hard. But if I know going in that the city does not want this project in this location, I generally don't take that case because it's going to be harder to win. And I like to tell my client right up front, the worst thing you can do to a developer, and you probably know this in your business, is not to say yes or no. Mm. The worst thing you can do is to say maybe. I don't know. Right. Let's try. Let's go spend X amount of dollars, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, and then get the no. I'd rather tell the client right up front the first week, first month, this is not going to happen. You paid me a little bit of time. We did our research. It's cut your losses. And by the way, it's still a great project. Let's move it from here to another place in the city, somewhere else. Mm-hmm.
And what do you think about like the Superman building from your experience? What makes that so difficult to get off the ground or to get something in motion?
The Superman building, I don't really want to go into too detailed because there's potential of litigation that ultimately may end up at the State House, but it's an iconic building. Most people in Rhode Island, you should see a picture of the building, you know what it is. Yep. And it has really historical value and psyche value. But at the end of the day, the numbers have to work for any developer to work in. Now, it historically hasn't worked, but I will tell you, in the last two federal stimulus packages, there were some advantageous tax restructuring, some tax law changes that made it very good for the Superman building. If we can incorporate a housing component, apartments, affordable housing, a community benefit program, if the city is on board with it, then I think you'll see something get done there. Because if it doesn't happen now with these tax changes, which by the way are temporary, they're like 1 or 2 years, right. And if it doesn't happen now, I don't think it's going to happen. So we'll have to wait and see, let the process play itself out. I try to keep an open mind on everything, but I'll listen to the facts. I'll listen to what the proponents say. I'll listen to what the opponents say, and then we'll make a decision on it. But I think it's something worth saving for Rhode Island.
Parking is, in my mind, the biggest issue there.
That's a big problem anywhere in downtown Providence. And as land use attorneys and closing attorneys, which I'm sure you've interacted with and you've done a lot of closings and stuff, clients don't want to go downtown Providence because we're parochial in Rhode Island. We want to be able to pull up to the front of your building and
Just
park
like here.
and park for free and come in and do your business and get in your car and go. You don't want to go down. You don't want to get a stamp. You don't want to wait for the attendant to bring the car around, and you don't want to pay for parking.
Right.
So traditionally, the downtown Providence lawyers are more corporate based, and the more commercial based, and the more residential based attorneys are outside in the suburbs.
Makes sense. Cool. Well, last thing is, what would you want the folks at home to know about you? What do you want to leave this interview with, the message?
That I think that Rhode Island's a great place to live, to raise your family, and to do business. And I think that we in Rhode Island were the biggest critics of our state. But I do a lot of traveling, and I look around, and I've lived around. I've gone to school in other places. I've worked in other states, and I vacation in a lot of other states. And I enjoy going away. I think it's good. But you always come home. And I think that if we just stop getting so down on ourselves, if we look at all the good things that are happening in Rhode Island, you'll realize that this is a good place to stay, to grow your business, to start a business, to raise a family, to keep your family here, and to retire here. So that's what I want people to know, that Rhode Island's a good place to be.
Absolutely. I concur.
Thank you, my friend. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you, Joe.
Good luck, and keep up the good work that you're doing
Thank you,
in your
brother.
company. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
If you have any questions for me, throw them in the comments field below. I'll get right back to you. Once again, Greg Rice from Nexus Property Management and Joe Shekarchi of Shekarchi Law.